We've had our horse farm for a little under 2 years now, and there were a lot of supplies we didn't realize we needed until we actually got down into the thick of it. And so in today's video, what I wanted to do is I wanted to share some of the most useful equipment you will need on a horse farm. My first item here is a temporary electric horse fence. And this is not something we originally realized we needed, but over time we have had to replace fencing and fix fencing and section the horses off to areas so that we can do something in the other section. And so having electric horse fencing is very useful. So this is just the strand. This is called electric tape. So this is about 500 meters in length. That's pretty long and could fence off a whole field. And I think this was under $200. And then of course you need to get the temporary stands, or you could do T-posts to hook it to. And it's super easy and fast to put up and take down, much faster than putting up a wooden fence. If you know that you eventually want wooden fences, but you want to kind of see the layout first and see how it works, using temporary fence is a great way to do that. It also just gives you a lot more options when managing your field. So right now we have this big field in the back where the horses go, but it's not divided or split off, and so there's no way to rotate them on it right now. And so this spring I'm gonna put this up so we can start rotating this field and get it a little bit more healthy. The next item is a giant throwing star. Just kidding, it's actually a brush cutter, and it's an attachment that goes onto this weed whacker here. So we have 4 acres here. That is not a lot compared to some other farms. Even 10 or 20 acres would be so much more. But just the amount of brush that you're having to constantly clear off your land, and the amount of vegetation you're having to keep under control is a lot. And it can quickly become overwhelming. So we invested in this weed whacker that doubles as a brush cutter, and it is one of the best buys for our farm. You wouldn't be able to tell now, but the fields back here used to be overrun with just weeds and shrubs. And so we came through with this and cleaned it all up. This blade can cut up to 1.5 inches thick, through vegetation like that. And so you can just take down things super easily, and it just makes it safer and cleaner for the horses. And I personally liked getting the weed whacker that doubled as the brush cutter, because we use the weed whacker just as much, to trim around the fences and to trim in the yard and around the barn. And so if you are looking for a money-saving option, I would recommend getting the weed whacker that has the brush cutter extension. Another item you need for your horse farm is a manure spreader. So you don't really realize how much horses poop until you have your own land and you're having to manage their manure. A manure spreader changes the game when it comes to storing the manure. So many times you're gonna find yourself having a massive pile of manure just from cleaning stalls and cleaning out pens and paddocks. It gets very overwhelming and suddenly you don't know what to do with it. The manure spreader kind of eliminates that issue. This here is the CM25 Conestoga manure spreader, and they were kind enough to sponsor this video. How the spreader works is first you fill it with manure, either from your manure pile or from your stalls or the pens. And this particular model is ground driven. So what that means is as you drive, these apron chains are going to start moving the poop to the back of the spreader. And then the manure is gonna go through the blades in the back, which will churn it up and spread it evenly across your field. So not only is it great for manure management, it's also great for fertilizing your land. They have options that can be pulled behind a tractor with a PTO shaft, or they have the ground driven options like this. And the great thing about these spreaders in particular is that they are made to last, and you'll probably only ever have to buy one. Normal manure spreaders will have a wooden floor, and those things are gonna rot super quickly. So this has a polyvinyl flooring that is lifetime warranty. You also have the option of getting these coated sides that will keep the manure from getting on the metal and corroding that. And then lastly, we got these apron chains that are stainless steel. So no breaking, no corroding or rusting. They are hardcore awesome. And these are the things that are gonna move the manure down the machine. If you want to learn more about Conestoga and see the options they have for you, check out their website, ConestogaManureSpreaders.com, or just click the link in the description. I think everyone knows they need some type of tractor or something if you're gonna have a farm. We have not had the opportunity to get one of those yet. When we actually bought the farm, we bought a tractor that was super old, but we ended up having to get rid of it. For right now, we have been doing everything with this riding lawnmower, and believe it or not, but this thing has been sustaining us. In the future, I would like to get an actual tractor, but for right now, another perk about the Conestoga is that they make this model to be pulled by even the wimpiest riding lawnmower. So you can do more than you realize with this thing. This is the cheapest riding lawnmower we could find at our local farm store. And so if you're seeing this as like a barrier to entry and that's why you're not wanting to get a farm, it is doable. It is going to be harder. We have had to rearrange our farm a little bit. Like, we have fenced off as much as we can for the animals to manage so that we don't have to mow as much. But where there's a will, there's a way. Another vital piece of equipment you need is this tool here. I'm not sure what this is really called. I think it's called a tamping rod, but I could be wrong. Anyway, it's this super heavy metal bar. On one end, it has like a blunt end that's flat. On the other end, it has a point. This thing is hardcore. Not only is it a great tool to fight zombies, but it's also a great tool to have for whenever you're building fences or you're needing to break rocks in your field and move them or dig. So it is really heavy, but you can go and buy these at Lowe's or Home Depot for, you know, 50 bucks. But what it's used for basically is that pointed end. By just dropping it, it gets deep into the ground and it can break dirt and rocks. And then with the blunt end, if you have put in a fence post or you're needing to flatten ground and make it even and level, you can use the blunt end to kind of push things and pack it down to where it's stable. Again, super cheap, but very useful to have on your farm. This is a gas-powered auger, and the benefit of having an auger is so that you can do the work yourself and save money rather than paying someone to do the work. These are used to dig holes. So if you're putting in fences, or if we've used it to like dig up ground to where we can plant trees. This thing is pretty hardcore and it does save you a lot of money. I think this was like maybe a little over $300, and we've put up yards and yards of fencing. Like that wooden fencing back there we did, it's 352 feet long. Probably would have cost $5,000 to pay someone to put it up. But with this, we did it ourselves. Now I will say with this, you're gonna need a big strong man to hold this thing. Like, I have tried to use it myself and I get thrown. But Colin can do this and he's been thrown a few times too. I mean, I think it's more for two people, like one person here, one person there, and you can drill into the ground. But these augers make it so much easier to dig holes and put in fences rather than using like a post hole digger. That's going to take you much longer. Again, one of the most useful things you can have on your horse farm is a manure spreader. So be sure to go check out Conestoga Manure Spreaders at ConestogaManureSpreaders.com, and you can see their models and see what works for you. But if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more weekly horse videos.